You see, if you simply observe nature, not through the lens of science, not through the lens of ambition, but just with open eyes, you will notice something profound. Nature is never in a hurry, yet everything happens. The sun rises and sets in its own time, the moon waxes and wanes with precision, seeds become saplings, saplings become trees, and trees bear fruit, not by force, not by anxiety, but by alignment with time and life. Have you ever seen a tree rushing to grow taller? Have you seen a flower bloom because it was desperate to impress anyone? No. Everything in nature moves in rhythm. There is a great intelligence in this slowness. This intelligence understands something most human beings have forgotten, that what is to come will come, not when you want it, but when it is ready to come. In today's world, everyone is in a hurry. Hurry to succeed, hurry to love, hurry to be someone. But have you seen someone trying to fast forward their life and still live fully? It doesn't work like that. You cannot force a fruit to ripen before its time. You can artificially accelerate it, yes, but it will never taste the same. It will not have the richness, the sweetness, the completeness of something that matured naturally. This is not about being slow, this is about being in sync. A river does not rush blindly, but it still carves through mountains. Its power lies in its persistence, in its steady flow. Similarly, your life does not need to be a race, it needs to be a journey, conscious, patient, and alert. When you are impatient, you are trying to bend the universe to your will. But when you are patient, you are aligning yourself with the universe. And let me tell you, the universe has been around a lot longer than you. It knows what it's doing. Even within your own body, look at how things function. The heart doesn't beat faster just because you're impatient. The breath doesn't speed up just because you want something quicker. When you are healthy, everything functions in rhythm. This rhythm is not imposed by thought or desire, it is intrinsic to life. A mango tree, for instance, doesn't feel jealous of the banana tree just because it bears fruit faster. The mango tree takes its time, but when it finally bears fruit, what a taste, what a fragrance, what a joy it brings. That is the beauty of taking time. That is the elegance of not rushing. In human life too, the most profound things do not happen in a hurry. Love, trust, wisdom, mastery, these are not instant needles. You cannot demand them, you can only grow into them. And this growth is not always visible. Just like a seed must stay buried in darkness before it can sprout, your growth often happens when no one, including you, can see it. But the mind, oh the mind, it wants to jump ahead. It wants to know everything now, achieve everything now, be everything now. The mind believes that speed equals success. But real fulfillment comes not from speed, but from depth. And depth cannot be rushed. In fact, anything that comes too quickly often disappears just as quickly. Think of relationships that form overnight. They usually break just as fast. Think of wealth that comes without effort. It rarely stays. But what you earn over time, what you build with care, what you nurture with patience, that stays, that becomes a part of you. Modern life has made us believe that faster is better. But faster is only better when you're escaping something. When you're present, when you're truly living, you don't want to rush. You want to savor. You want to experience. You want to be. So, if good things are taking time in your life, don't worry. That means they are growing roots. They are anchoring themselves deeply so they don't collapse when the winds of change blow. That time you call waiting is not wasted. It's preparation. It's quiet construction. It's life. Working backstage, shaping something worth having. Impatience is not just a small flaw of character. It is a symptom of a deeper problem. It reveals a fundamental mistrust in the way life operates. When you are impatient, it means you don't believe life knows what it's doing. You think you must interfere, push, pull, control, and force things to happen. You believe your timeline is superior to existence itself. But life is not something you can manage through frustration. It is not a machine you control with switches. Life is a living intelligence, an unfolding process, and impatience is simply a refusal to trust that process. If you plant a seed and then every morning dig it up to see whether it has started growing, do you think that seed will flourish? You will kill it with your impatience. But this is what many people do with their lives, their goals, their relationships. They plant something and then constantly doubt it, constantly question whether it is working, constantly worry whether it will ever bloom. That doubt, that anxiety, that impatience, it poisons the very soil that could have nurtured the seed. You must understand, life does not operate on your schedule. It does not care for your deadlines or demands. It operates on the law of nature, on a rhythm far more intelligent than your mind can grasp. Your impatience is like standing at the foot of a great river and shouting at it to flow faster. The river will not listen, and your shouting only disturbs your own peace. The river knows where it is going. It has been flowing long before you arrived, and it will continue long after you are gone. Impatience arises from an overactive mind, a mind that constantly projects into the future, constantly imagines how things should be, and then suffers because they are not. This mind is not present. It is disconnected from the intelligence of life. When you are truly present, when you are in tune with what is here and now, impatience cannot exist. You are simply aware. You are simply alive. And in that awareness, there is no need to rush. There is only the beauty of what is. When people are impatient, they often say, I can't wait. But the truth is, they can wait. They just don't know how to wait peacefully. Waiting is not the problem. It is the agitation, the anxiety, the desperation that fills the waiting with suffering. But waiting can be beautiful. Waiting can be graceful. Look at a mother waiting to hold her newborn. Look at an artist waiting for inspiration. Look at a monk waiting for silence to deepen. There is power in patience, but that power only comes when you trust that something is unfolding, even if you cannot yet see it. If you are constantly impatient, you are living in resistance. Resistance to the present moment. Resistance to what life is offering. And resistance is exhausting. It drains your energy. It clouds your perception. It makes you blind to the opportunities that are already around you. When you are too focused on what should be, you miss what is. Trust is a very gentle yet profound state. Trust is not about being passive or lazy. Trust means you are doing what needs to be done with full involvement, but without the anxiety of the outcome. You move, you act, you work, but you do not worry. You know that life has its own intelligence. You know that if you plant the right seed and nurture it with care, it will grow. You don't have to keep shouting at the sky for rain. And sometimes life makes you wait not because it is denying you, but because it is preparing you. Maybe what you want is not ready for you, or maybe you are not ready for it. If it came now, you might waste it, misuse it, or misunderstand it. So life in its silent compassion asks you to wait, not as a punishment, but as a process. But this is hard to see when you are impatient. When you are impatient, even a blessing can feel like a burden. Even a delay can feel like denial. Your mind begins to spin stories. It will never happen. Something is wrong. I am not enough. Life is unfair. These stories feed your frustration. But none of them are true. They are simply the echoes of a mind that does not know how to be still. Stillness is not inaction. Stillness is clarity. And clarity comes when you stop reacting and start observing. If you observe long enough, you will see how life moves. You will see that everything has its time. You will see that your impatience was never necessary. It was only noise. It was only your mistrust, disguised as ambition. What grows slowly grows strong and lasts long. This is not merely a poetic statement. It is a truth you can witness in every aspect of life, if only you pay attention. Look at the trees that stand tall for hundreds of years, the great banyan or the mighty oak. They did not shoot up overnight. They took years, even decades, to spread their roots deep into the soil before they could rise towards the sky. And because they were slow, because they were patient, because they allowed time to shape them, they became unshakable. In contrast, look at the plants that grow fast. Within weeks, they sprout, bloom, and then wither. There is a beauty in their speed, no doubt, but there is no longevity. Their roots are shallow, and so they cannot stand when the storms come. This is how life works. The depth of your foundation determines the height of your growth. And foundation takes time. Strength takes time. Maturity takes time. Many people want instant results, instant success, instant relationships, instant recognition, but anything that comes too quickly without the support of a solid foundation will eventually collapse under its own weight. A tall building built on a weak base will not survive even a small tremor. Similarly, if you rise fast without grounding yourself, without learning, without growing from within, your success will be fragile. The smallest difficulty will shake you. One failure, one criticism, one rejection, and everything crumbles. In ancient traditions, this truth was deeply understood. That is why spiritual seekers were made to go through years of preparation, not because the master was unwilling to teach, but because the student needed time to be ready. When the foundation was laid strong, then even a single word from the master could transform the entire being. Without that inner preparation, even the greatest wisdom would just bounce off the surface. This principle applies not only to the spiritual path, but to every aspect of life. If you want to be wise, let time work on you. If you want to be strong, allow life to challenge you slowly, consistently. If you want to build something meaningful, whether it's a career, a relationship, or a vision, don't rush. Instead, focus on making it deep, making it real, making it rooted. The problem is that most people confuse slowness with weakness. But slowness is not weakness. Slowness means stability. Slowness means you are not driven by impulse. You are not reacting, you are responding. And response comes from awareness, while reaction comes from habit. What grows slowly is aware of its growth. It evolves consciously, layer by layer, rather than expanding blindly. Even the human body takes time to develop. A child cannot be forced to become an adult in a few months. If that happened, the body would be deformed, the mind unstable, the emotions chaotic. Growth must happen in its own time. It is not just the speed, but the rhythm that matters. There is a natural unfolding, and if you align yourself with that, your life becomes steady, graceful, and powerful. If you take a candle and light it, it gives you light for a short while. But if you light a fire with dry wood and let it build slowly, that fire can burn all night, even through the storm. That is the difference between quick inspiration and lasting transformation. One flickers and dies, the other glows from within. That glow, that intensity, that fire of inner strength comes only when you have allowed yourself to grow slowly and deeply. Modern culture celebrates speed but forgets depth. Everyone is running, chasing, achieving, but very few are grounding themselves. Very few are asking, who am I becoming in this process? Is this growth real or just an illusion of movement? True strength is not loud, it is silent. It does not need to display itself because it knows it cannot be shaken. That kind of strength is born only through time. So if your journey feels slow, do not be disheartened. Slow is not wrong. Slow is sacred. It means something is being built that will not fall apart easily. It means you are growing in a way that is real, not performative. And that reality will stay with you, not just in moments of success, but in times of challenge, in moments of solitude, in the quiet hours when no one is watching. That is when you will realize the true value of what was built slowly. The process is as sacred as the outcome. But most people are so obsessed with results that they completely miss the beauty of the journey. They treat the process like a burden, something to endure, just to get to the prize at the end. This approach is not only unwise, it is deeply disrespectful to the intelligence of life, because it is the process that shapes you, refines you, and prepares you to hold what you are seeking. The destination may last for a moment, but the journey is where transformation happens. If you ask a musician what truly matters, the final performance or the countless hours of practice, you will see a knowing smile. Because without the practice, without the struggle, without the imperfections and corrections, there would be no performance. The performance is just a reflection of what was earned in the process. And in the process, something deeper happens. Not just skill, but sensitivity. Not just knowledge, but wisdom. Not just repetition, but rhythm. This is what makes the process sacred. In spiritual traditions, the act of sweeping the floor, cooking the food, or sitting in meditation day after day is not seen as a task. It is seen as worship. Why? Because the process is what polishes the being. It is not about the result of having a clean floor or a perfectly cooked meal. It is about the attention, the presence, the surrender to the act itself. That devotion turns even the simplest act into something sacred. You don't have to do something grand to live in reverence. You just have to do what you're doing with your full heart. When people chase only outcomes, they become restless, anxious, and often disappointed. Because outcomes are never fully in your hands. You can work towards a goal, you can strive with everything you have, but whether that goal manifests in the exact form you imagined, that is not guaranteed. Life has its own logic, but the process, the way you walk your path, the energy and integrity you bring to it, that is always in your hand. That is your responsibility, and it is also your freedom. There is a deep joy that comes when you give yourself fully to the process without being obsessed about where it will lead. In that giving, there is clarity. In that surrender, there is strength. Because then, every step becomes meaningful. Every moment becomes a possibility. You are no longer living only for the future. You are alive in the now. And that presence brings a sense of fulfillment that no outcome can match. Think of a sculptor working on a block of stone. Each stroke of the chisel is part of the process. The final sculpture may be what the world sees, but the sculptor knows the real magic happened long before that. When the vision met the stone, when patience met effort, when failure met perseverance. That intimacy with the process is what creates something timeless. If the sculptor was only focused on finishing quickly, the beauty would be lost. The details would be shallow. The creation would lack soul. In life, whether you are building a relationship, a career, a work of art, or your own self, the same principle applies. The process of showing up day after day, moment by moment, with sincerity and openness, that is where the real alchemy happens. That is where inner stability is born. And that kind of stability is not easily shaken because it was not borrowed or copied or bought. It was earned. Sometimes the process is not glamorous. It may feel slow, repetitive, even invisible, but that is where depth grows. A tree does not grow taller every day in a way that is visible to the eye, but every day it is reaching deeper into the earth. That hidden process is what allows it to withstand wind, rain, and time. If you neglect the process in your own life, you may appear successful for a while, but there will be no foundation. The first strong wind will expose the truth. Honoring the process also brings a certain humility. You realize that everything worthwhile takes effort, care, and time. This keeps you grounded. It prevents arrogance. It deepens your empathy because you begin to see that everyone is in a process of their own. No one is fully finished. No one has reached the ultimate. We are all evolving, unfolding, step by step. When you begin to see the process as sacred, life no longer feels like a waiting room. You are no longer living for some far-off day when everything will be perfect. You begin to find beauty in the imperfections, meaning in the struggles, and joy in the small, silent victories. You understand that every breath, every effort, every setback, and every breakthrough is part of a much larger unfolding. And that unfolding is not separate from the goal, it is the goal in motion. Stillness and patience are not inaction, they are powerful presence. In today's world, movement is mistaken for progress. People believe if they are not constantly doing something, they are being left behind. But some of the most powerful moments in life arise not from frantic activity, but from deep stillness. When you are still, truly still, not distracted, but present, you are more in tune with life than someone who is merely busy. In stillness, you begin to see things as they are. You begin to notice what was always there, hidden beneath the noise. Like muddy water that settles when left undisturbed, the mind too becomes clear when it is still. And from that clarity, wise action arises. This is why stillness is not inaction. It is the foundation of conscious action. Without it, most actions are just reactions, driven by habit or fear. Patience, too, is often misunderstood. People think patience means waiting passively, doing nothing, being idle. But patience is not weakness. It is a powerful, alert state. It means you have the strength to remain centered even when things are not going your way. It means you can endure discomfort, uncertainty, and delay without losing your balance. That is not a small thing. That is inner mastery. In nature, everything operates with stillness and patience at its core. The mountains are still, yet they command presence. The stars are patient, yet they light up the sky night after night without fail. They are not rushing to outshine one another. They are simply being what they are, and in that being they express something eternal. The same possibility exists within every human being, but it can only be touched when you learn to be still and patient. Stillness does not mean you stop living. It means you live without resistance. You are not constantly pushing or pulling at life. You are allowing it to move through you with awareness. In that space, there is intelligence. In that space, there is peace. Most people are tired not because they do too much, but because they are in constant resistance to what is. They are mentally pushing against life, trying to be somewhere else, someone else, doing something else. That tension is exhausting. Stillness is freedom from that tension. When you are still, even for a moment, you begin to feel a deeper rhythm of life that is not available to a restless mind. You begin to sense the undercurrent of presence that is always there, whether you notice it or not. That presence is not thinking, it is not planning, it is simply aware. And from that awareness, you can act without anxiety, speak without fear, create without self-doubt. Patience is the same. It is not about waiting endlessly. It is about waiting with trust. It is about understanding that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. There is a deeper intelligence at work in life, and sometimes that intelligence takes its own time. If you are impatient, you may act too soon, speak too quickly, quit too early. But if you are patient, you allow things to mature. You allow people to grow. You allow yourself to unfold at your own pace. In relationships, patience creates space for understanding. In creativity, it allows true inspiration to arise. In decision-making, it brings clarity. In healing, it offers time for transformation. Nothing that is truly beautiful can be forced. Everything precious takes time and stillness to be nurtured. Even in moments of crisis, stillness can be your greatest strength. When everything around you is chaotic, the one who is still becomes the center of gravity. You do not add to the noise, you become the calm in the storm. That calmness is not given by the world, it is cultivated through practice, through awareness, through patience. This is not about escaping life. It is about being fully here, so completely that you are not pulled in every direction, so rooted that no outer storm can uproot your inner stability. Stillness is not a lack of energy, it is directed energy. Patience is not waiting forever, it is moving in tune with the right moment. When you combine these two, you begin to live with depth, with grace, and with strength that doesn't shout but simply is.